All right, and we're live.
All right.
We are here with the famous, the greatest, Vinci Gaming, and he is a variety streamer and who streams on YouTube, and he's done a bunch of different games, very interesting playthroughs, and he's recently started playing Hearts of Iron 4, and he's had fantastic streams. Go check him out. Vinci, go ahead and say hi.
Thank you so much, and hello to everybody. But yeah, I appreciate that. I just I like a wide variety of games and everything, and for some reason, I just latched onto this Hearts of Iron and enjoying it very much so.
Well, that's awesome. And recently you were featured on one of the Paradox developer videos. And it was awesome. Like,
I have no idea how that happened. Somebody in my Discord sent that to me. I looked at it, I'm like, how did that even happen?
It's an old man.
Yeah, he's a streamer. Look at him.
Oh, nice. That's awesome.
Yeah,
It's always nice.
that's very nice.
Yeah.
Actually.
I'm sorry for any bugs you might have, Mister. I don't know who he is, but I mean, you never know.
look at this. He's actually 30, but playing HOI does this to people.
Hearts of Iron 4, not even once.
I don't know how it happened, but it was great. And I guess the first thing I'll do is the icebreaker, as I always do. And I was watching a famous streamer named Summit1G on Twitch. I don't know if you're aware of him or not.
Mm-mm.
So he's a variety streamer, and they were playing Sea of Thieves, which is like a pirate game.
Yep.
And they like to go around and just hide on people's boats and steal all their stuff. And they stole this crew's stuff. And Summit's getting up there. He's like in his mid-30s. And I thought of you a bit. And the guy was so butthurt. The guy was like, well, why are you so old and still playing video games and streaming? And Summit was like, so is there an age to just quit your passion? So when I hit a certain number, I can no longer do what I'm passionate about. And I thought of you. So what is your reason if you had a kid griefing you on the internet like that after you stole all of his loot? What would your answer to that be?
Oh, that's happened a lot in a lot of different styles of games, and I mean, we just, when you get to a certain point, stuff doesn't bother you like that. And you just kind of toss that off. And I don't mean to offend anybody, but you just kind of mentally check it out as there's a 15-year-old and move on, No,
it makes sense. But I also like Summit's argument that, so you like to do horseback riding, and then not you, but just a person. And then what? I'm 50. I'm not doing that anymore. But I mean, there might be medical reasons, but like video gaming is so awesome because there should be very little barrier to doing it for most people,
Yeah, to a degree. I actually, I don't mention this a whole lot, but I actually got back into video gaming. It was a weird leap of events and everything that kind of got me back in, because I was actually in video gaming like way back in the 80s and 90s and everything, before a lot of people were actually born. I learned on Wolfenstein and the actual original Warcraft, Orcs and Humans and all that kind of stuff. But then I kind of got away from it right about the 2000 mark, somewhere around in there. I was doing this game called Age of Empires, which is a real-time strategy game. It's very popular at that time, and did some, a little bit of championship stuff. And I kind of stopped right about then. And I don't know, it was probably a good 10, 15 year hiatus and everything. And then I started repairing console games for a little extra cash here and there, and then that kind of got me back into, because I started repairing the consoles, and then I kept getting all these extra games, and I was like, well, I've never played this, let's check this out, and one thing leads to another, and then I just kind of got back into PC gaming and stuff like that, and it was just weird how all that kind of transpired. And then as far as the streaming goes, I actually picked up streaming because I had some health issues. And I used to be a really big multitasker, and I wasn't able to multitask. I literally had to shut off this and shut off that and everything and focus on one thing. And so I actually picked up gaming again with streaming to actually start teaching my brain and my body to multitask again, which was a very big challenge at the beginning about 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago or so. But, I've kind of overcome that hurdle, and here we are.
Well, that's great. Were you like one of those guys back in the day that would build their own PC, or are you playing on a pre-built PC?
I've done a little bit of pre-builts, and I've done a little bit of build my own stuff too. Yep.
Yeah, you mentioned the fixing the consoles, so I feel like that would be right up your alley.
Yeah, a lot of the console stuff was super simple. It's like the Xbox 360. It would get the red ring of death and all that, and everybody would think that it was all trash and everything. So I'd literally go around and pay people like $5 for their Xbox 360. Take me like 10 minutes to fix it, and it would be like, I'd turn around and sell it for 150 bucks or something.
Dude, that is wild. Wow, good for you.
Yeah.
Jeez. So would you go
Yeah.
on eBay to get these, or just people in your local community?
Yeah, it was mostly local community. And, I mean, a lot of times they'd like $20 for the Xbox 360 and 20 games or something because, it was broken. They had no use for it no more. They were done playing it and all that. And so I'd come back, and a lot of times, if it wasn't like the Red Ring of Death, a lot of times it was just simply cleaning out the disk drive. You'd take alcohol and Q-tip, done. And it was simple stuff that people just didn't know how to do.
So are you cleaning off the eye inside of the CD drive
Yep.
there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. A lot of times that was, yeah.
Wow. So that's kind of the roots of everything. And then how did you get into variety streaming?
I've always kind of enjoyed one solid game. Like I said, back, 20 something years ago, I did Age of Empires. And then I kind of got into, some survival crafting games and things like that. And when I first came to YouTube, it was Valheim was just coming out in 2021, so I was kind of stuck with that. But then I started looking at, for one, I looked at my Steam list and I'm like, wow, I got a lot of games on here that I've never played. And so I went like the A to Z thing on Steam. I just started kind of going down and 1 hour playthrough of each game or something like that. And then I started working with somehow I picked up some alphas, betas, demos, started working with some developers and everything and testing out some games here and there and stuff like that. And as well as just picking up games that I thought was, I would enjoy and everything. And then I kind of got to a point, not that I have a large channel or anything. I have a very small YouTube channel, but I felt like I tried to hit some things in stride, like currently Tarkov is about to do a wipe. So, there's going to be a lot of people watching Tarkov over the next couple of weeks. Last fall, I hit Call of Duty, and I hit that right in stride. I'd never played a Call of Duty or very little first-person shooters in my life, other than way back in the 80s or 90s, back when Doom first came out. So I picked up Call of Duty. The first time I'd ever played a Call of Duty, I kind of joked about it. I will never play Call of Duty. I will never play Apex. I will never play Fortnite. And I just listed kind of like, a job. I will never work at McDonald's, and just all these I will not do in my life. And I picked up Call of Duty. I saw some friends kind of playing through the storyline, and I was like, because I had like story games on my channel. And I'm like, that campaign seems really cool. So I actually picked it up for the campaign. And then a couple of friends of mine were like doing the multiplayer and everything. And I there was something that just happened at that time on my channel. I picked up a lot of subscribers. And I think that like in first person shooters, some people get so wrapped up in that kill death ratio that they're like, they're so focused on that they forget to chat to their viewers in their live stream, or whatever. And I think that that might have been the difference because, you know, I was playing with other people and I was just literally having fun and making jokes. I would, you know, we'd be in a room or something going in the middle of, you know, bullets flying everywhere. And I'm sitting here staring and talking to Chad about the pictures and the painting on the wall or what's in the refrigerator or whatever. And everybody's just getting a kick out of it and everything. And I think that that was, you know, different than the norm. So
I
I don't know.
I completely agree. I mean, I would say that is your superpower, that, you know, everyone is wrapped up into that and being OP and being the top, and you're playing it for the journey, it sounds like, and not to be this top tier pro. And I feel like there's a lot of appeal to that, and there's a lot of people that want to see that. So
I
good
will
job.
never be a pro at anything. I will never have mad gamer skills or anything like that. But I try to approach it from a standpoint that I think that there's a lot of appeal when people watch my streams with, oh, I forgot about that game. I used to play that game and I remember it and I want to play it again. You know, because they see some old dude and they're just like, dude, if he can do it, you know, and you know, die that many times and be okay with it, then I can play it too. So that's just that's just kind of that. And man,
So your channel kind of doubled up in subscribers with Call of Duty, the last release. Is that correct? Or
yeah, there was quite a few subscribers, quite a few. I mean, I was totally shocked by the growth and everything that happened at that time. And then there's been a couple of games like that, and one of those is been the Hearts of Iron also. I mean, I did a couple of Hearts of Iron. You know, I think I bumped into you because of Call of Duty. You know, I mean, actually, I bumped into you with Victoria because I picked up Victoria and you started doing that, and then I watched your Victoria stream and I'm like, oh, you got a decent channel there. I've always wanted to learn Hearts of Iron. I've never really played it, and we kind of chatted about that, but then I never really picked up Hearts of Iron, and then you started playing Call of Duty with us, and um, we enjoyed that, and somehow it circled back around to Hearts of Iron, where I'm like, you know what? I think I just need to bite the bullet and try this game. I know that it's a big monster game. There's a whole lot to learn about it, and there's such a huge learning curve. And I was just like, let me just go in and do it. And so I did that, did a couple of streams, and somehow somebody watched one of my streams and stuck it on. I had no idea what was going on. A friend of mine, Beaver, and I were literally just sitting there chatting about something. I don't know what it was. And all of a sudden, my subscribers were you know, I had my Streamlabs open, so my notifications were going off, and it was like ding, 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 ding. I'm like, what the flip? And Beaver's like, dude, what's going on? And ding, ding, ding. And we couldn't even we were just laughing about it. It took me a day or two to realize that somebody had grabbed hold of my Hearts of Iron and posted it on the Reddit. And then somehow they're like, oh, look, here's some old dude playing this game. And I was like, wow. So I
I
don't know
I
how
think
that
I know
happened.
who pulled it on, who might have. Peter,
Yeah.
he was on the podcast as well, and he's the lead game director for Hearts of Iron 4. And I asked him, what do you do to like get ideas, what, you know, or what people like? And he goes on Reddit, he goes on social media, and he may have seen it. I mean, who knows? I don't know if he gives a lot of input into their team that does the promotional videos like that
Right.
you were on, but I would think he's the lead developer. So I was probably
Yeah.
him. I'll ask him about that in private, but that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. I
So
know.
what I'd like to know is, so with the variety streaming, what I see, because I follow some variety streamers, I'm not one myself, but
Mhm.
it is challenging to overcome
Absolutely.
this. I got to learn a brand new game and the
Yep.
buttonology and all that other stuff. How are you tackling that? How is that going for you?
There's two schools of thoughts, and I see some people who you know, there's some big people out there, and you can kind of see them as they set up their game at the beginning or something. There are some people that do the key mapping to where everything is exactly the same on every single game, and I try to do the exact opposite. I try to go with what the game developers have set up and I try to learn it that way because I'm like, there's a reason why the game developers set it up this way. So, it really struggles for me sometimes at the beginning of a game. And then especially like if I do similar games, like if I do Far Cry and Call of Duty and Tarkov or a lot of first person shooters and their key mapping is totally different, then like especially if I take like 8 days off and then come back to the game, then
Yeah.
it's a real big challenge to kind of get into that right away. But yeah, if that kind of answers the question there, that it is a challenge learning and relearning as you kind of come back to an episode 2 or 3, like a few days later or something like that. It would be a lot easier if I stuck with one game, most definitely.
So, how are you liking Hearts of Iron 4 so far?
Oh, absolutely. It's flipping amazing game. There's so much intricate details to it. And, there's just, it's like when I first started off, I did it pretty much without any of the DLCs and everything. And I've kind of added some DLCs as I've went along. But I honestly feel like the base game is really good. And yes, there's some add-ons, but I think you've mentioned it either in podcasts or somewhere in passing that there's just been so much that has been added on to the game from the initial release through the DLCs and all these little incremental steps that for somebody like myself who has never played the game before, it's just such a crazy learning curve. When you think about the fact that, the base game, you took your military factory and you made an airplane and that was it. Or you made a boat and that was it. And then now you've got all these different modules for the boat. You got all these different things for the airplane. You got all these different things that you're adding on. It's just kind of crazy. And I could be totally wrong on everything, but, as well as, just different strategies. I'm sure that different things have kind of transpired over the years and everything. Maybe the AI has gotten better, obviously, than it originally was.
The game was you could beat the world with Luxembourg, and
Right.
that apparently is still one of my friends, Hatless Spider,
Mhm.
has a video on that where he actually holds as Luxembourg, which is very impressive. That's kind of his forte
Yeah.
is doing little things like that. But now it's up to where they're balancing things around the map. The AI is protecting areas that you could exploit, etc. So the AI is getting much better.
Mhm.
But it's incredible the longevity of Hearts of Iron 4. And I think you spoke to the fact that like I have a guided channel. It's the game's so complex. That's why there's so many guided channels of Hearts of Iron 4 on YouTube, and I'm
Mhm.
one of them. But do you, through all this mental exercise, have you found that you're smarter, or are you aware, or maybe you are and you're not aware? Like, is it exercise for your brain? Is what I'm asking.
Absolutely. No matter what style of gaming it is, you're growing and stuff. Unless if you just do everything exactly the same every time. And I think that, like with Hearts of Iron, there is a particular niche of people that want to not only go into world. I've got some pretty rough thunderstorms here. That not only go into world domination, but want to start out small. Like I've just started a playthrough of El Salvador. Obviously, I'm not going to conquer the world with El Salvador, but let's see how far we can go. I think that there's a certain niche of people that want to start off as, say, an African colony, and what can they do to break free from France or Britain or something, or start with, I don't know, what was it, the Majapahit, where you're out in the Dutch East Indies and break free from Netherlands or something. Whatever you can do to kind of grow and grow and grow. There's something with that, and then there's also another style of people that enjoy the larger countries, where you start out with Germany and how far can you go with that? Obviously, with Germany, world domination is the key. with Russia, with Great Britain, and it's just a matter of how you do that to make that happen. So
I would suggest trying Mexico. I do have a guide that was pretty popular, and it turns out USA is not too hot early game. Like you could take them out as a small country. That might be a cool thing to do as well. But I've kind of alluded to it in like one video. I think I forget what the video was, but to me, strategy gaming has changed my life. I don't think I've ever said this before on a video, but to me, I feel like it's raised my IQ for sure. I have things that I learn in game that apply to my personal life, particularly finances or certain other things, because what you're doing is you're running a simulator that there's no downside. I could die in Tarkov. I don't die in real life. Nothing happens to me. But you do understand gameplay, and through like Tarkov, I have heard Special Forces guys say that you can learn CQB, basically small arms tactics, from playing that simulator because you can experiment so many times. And I don't know. For me, I'm not going to stop gaming, and I'm glad to game with you, and glad to have you as a friend online to play with.
Absolutely. I mean, you learn a lot throughout life and everything, and you know, I agree with you on all of that. I also agree that sometimes life, you know, kind of prepares you for other things too. But you know, it's like every strategy game. Okay, we probably all knew when we were like 2 years old. It's just it grows to crazy lengths. I mean, rock paper scissors. That's what every strategy game is. It's just a matter of figuring it out to what degree you got to counter everything that's coming at you. And there's, you know, Hearts of Iron is definitely one of those crazy games that I haven't done any multiplayers, but I've seen that, and it's sometimes, you know, your strategy's kind of written out there right away when you first start. So it's just a matter of getting your you know, all strategy games, okay? So you start out with a mindset of what you want to do and what you want to accomplish with the game and how you're going to get it started and everything. But then when that doesn't happen, do you continue with your strategy and double down, or do you shift it? And how fast can you shift it? And every game is slightly different on the ability to be able to do that, if that makes sense, as far as strategy gaming goes.
I think that you just hit the nail on the head. It's the flexibility to be able to switch what you're doing in the middle, having the presence of mind, the confidence to change, and that happens a lot in life. And a lot of times you see people, they get stuck in a certain, let's say, play style, whatever they're doing, and they don't change, they don't alter. But like you just said, like, if you want to be good, you got to alter your play style sometimes. And I think that's one thing, the pliability, the flexibility is very important to me in life.
Yep, absolutely.
So back to Hearts of Iron 4, like so far, I've seen you play at least 3 or 4 nations. What is your favorite either aspect of the game or country? Like, what do you like to do in Hearts of Iron 4?
Well, I've done a couple of small country playthroughs and everything, and then I just recently did my large country, which was Germany here, and that was pretty interesting, and I actually took it in a total different path than I think anybody ever has. I mean, how many people have, you know, taken Germany all the way through India up to China and then realized, you know what, don't ever fight China on the land. But it was too late at that point. I'd already expended everything going against China, and that was a mistake. Don't do it.
I think it was probably supply lines was your problem, but I just don't understand why USSR didn't attack you. Because that happened to me. Maybe it's because you're playing without the DLCs, maybe.
I don't know, but I think that for one, I tried to protect my borders and everything and tried to do all that, but I think there was just a combination of supply lines, mountains, all that stuff. As far as China, that was a big mistake. And then I backed up there and decided, you know what? The game's about to end anyway, so make a decision. Either I'm going to attack USA or I'm going to attack Russia. And I chose Russia, and Russia attacked me, and then China attacked me at the same time, and that was, yeah. But that was the first time I had ever done a large nation. I mean, there's a lot. I think that new players, it's good to learn the small nations so that you learn some of the small mechanics a bit at a time, so that you learn. Granted, there's only like a couple military factories, a couple of civilian factories at a time, and all that kind of stuff. A couple provinces to kind of work with, but I mean, if I would have started off honestly, and some people say start off with Germany, but if I would have started off with that, I mean, especially with some DLCs and everything, there's
Yeah.
just way too much by the time you're dealing with the Navy, trying to deal with protecting your ports and your borders, as well as overtaking other countries. And then you got the garrisoning to deal with. I mean, there's just a lot to deal with. And the land battles are the primary part. And I could be totally wrong on all this because I've only been doing Hearts of Iron for a couple of months, but this is my take on it, that the meat and potatoes of the game is the land, and that you have to win the land to take care of everything. The Navy is just a way to get to another land, basically. Um, the Air Force supplements the land also. I mean, everything is based on the land. That's my humble opinion of it. And that to learn like the land, say in Central America, South America, something like that, where there's no enemies around you for the most part, but you can kind of take some things and you learn the land battles first. You learn the economy bits as it goes, and then start building up to, I don't know, maybe in Middle East or well, I did Middle East also. I did Iran and Iraq, which I learned quite a lot from. I learned about the mountains. I learned about supplies there. Um, I think maybe some Eastern European, the Bulgaria, Romania bits like that, where it's smaller nations, but you know you're going to be attacked. But now you got to deal with the ally. Who are you going to ally with? How's that going to work out? Because you have to, if you're Eastern European, you have to ally with somebody, or you're going to get crushed.
Yeah, it is a powder keg down there in Hearts of Iron 4 for sure.
Yeah.
I was wondering,
Yeah.
are you aware of the combat width game mechanic at all?
A little bit, yes, yes. And I'm learning more and more about that as I play.
What's your preferred one, or are you just going standard templates? Everyone in Hearts of Iron 4 is obsessed with templates. So what do you prefer to use ground wise?
Well, like, you know, when I started off with this El Salvador today, I had like 3 infantry. That was the division. There was 1 military factory and 1 civilian factory. And so, I mean, you're not got much options there. And then you're lucky to, by the time you hit your first battle, if you can get to a 5-2 or a 7-2 or something like that, that you're doing sitting pretty good at that point without any Navy or without any Air Force. You're just you don't have any support equipment. You're just going artillery and infantry, and you're lucky to get to 5-2 or 5-1 or something like that. And so, I mean, I don't really have a lot of preferred things. I mean, I think that, you know, when people that have played the game a lot more than me and they join into my live streams and they talk a little bit, and then I realize, like when I got towards the end game of Germany, and Pillbox, a wonderful, wonderful person, was in my stream and was talking to me about the combat width, I guess, of you know, the heavy or the end game tanks there for Germany being somewhere around 40, 42, something like that. You know, I mean, just tossing a number out at me at that point of my development helps out a lot. You know, that's where I want to be. And then I'm like trying to figure out. And then once they said that number, then I forget what I did. I had like 3 light tanks and like maybe, I don't know what the numbers wind up being, like 3 heavy tanks or something, and then, or 3 modern tanks, and then like maybe 6 motorized infantry or whatever the numbers wind up being. You know, and then I just know that there needs to be more infantry than tanks to get your organization high. and then you want, obviously, the tanks have the stopping power and the attack value and all that kind of stuff. I mean, again, I don't know all the numbers by heart or anything like that, but I just kind of shoot from the hip and see what goes, and then I kind of look at it as I go. And I think you or somebody else had kind of mentioned, kind of a basic being around 20 combat width. And so I kind of, if I can get to that, I like it. And then that kind of gets me in that ballpark, if that makes any sense. Because again, somebody like me just coming into the game, I don't know any of that stuff until people kind of toss out some suggestions. And I appreciate all the suggestions, any of the comments on the channel, or any of the people that drop into live streams. I appreciate that so much.
Well, I'll tell you, it would be cool to see you micro some tanks, which will take a lot to get to because you're a variety streamer, but it would be cool to see, check that out. So I'll give you some tank builds, and I'll give you some tank templates. But to be honest, if you have tanks, if you're Germany or USSR, for instance, the infantry does not really matter that much. And I know that might startle some people, but the tanks are that OP. So basically the way they run in multiplayer, the infantry just stands there. Tanks do all the work. They do all the pushes, unless you need to pin something, then you attack with an individual infantry. There's no battle planning. Battle planning really costs a lot in manpower and equipment. But if you have an armored tank as your spearhead, as you can imagine, you don't lose equipment as much, and you don't lose as much stuff. And you can also, best thing in the game, I asked this to several streamers, encirclements. That's the best thing in the game, because that is the one situation where you can attack someone, they can't attack you back really well, and you will deal the most damage out of any other type of situation.
Yep.
So that's my 2 cents on the subject. But like you already know, that was interesting that when you step into a multiplayer lobby, you're not going to be allowed to do some wing nut thing. They're going to want you to do, particularly the majors, they're going to want you to support them. So you are playing a set template of strategies that have already been developed.
Yep. No, I just know that I would like to get into multiplayer, but I know that there is probably a shift in not only the play style, but also the abilities of things. And I'm not saying knocking anybody that just does the single player or whatever for any reason, but I just know that from other real-time strategy games that, there's certain things that to take advantage of. Like, there was a game that I played, Age of Empires, with the real-time strategy, and it basically had rock, paper, scissors. You had barracks, you had archery ranges, you had cavalry stables, and it depended on what strategy you were going. And so if you were doing the single player, then you might not even fathom somebody making 20 barracks, and dropping them on you. But or building them there within your town area or your country area, not just actually going to the enemy and dropping the barracks right there and dropping 20 of them on top of you. You just wouldn't fathom that as a single player. But then that's what I mean by multiplayer, is just sometimes in almost every real-time strategy game, there is just something that is wildly different than that single player game. And it's just a matter of probably knowing that before you step in a little bit, or after 1 or 2 games, you kind of figure it out real fast, I would think.
I guess my suggestion would be play with other streamers, and then, you're, by virtue of just being there, on other people's streams as well.
Yep.
So it'll help your channel out more, but it won't be as rough. If you play a public game, it could be pretty rough, unforgiving. And anyone who's played public games on Hearts of Iron 4 will tell you the same. But it is what it is. It's a hardcore community. I get it. It's very interesting hearing you talk about these strategies, because when I see you play, you lower everyone's expectations. But then I'm like, someone tells you something in chat and you do it immediately. You're not like fumbling around. You're a variety streamer. This game is new to you. They tell you to do something and then you do it, and it's like you pick it up very quickly. So I have noticed that.
Yeah, well, thanks. Thanks. I just I enjoy, you know, I enjoy gaming for one, but I also enjoy creating content, and that's one thing that as a streamer, it we realize that, we're out there, we're talking with people and everything, we're interacting with people in chat, but then it never really fully sank in till I realized there was about 3 years ago, there was a person that was in my chat, and they said, I've been kind of lurking here for about a year or so. I hadn't really said too much and everything. We started talking a lot, and I realized that they actually started watching me streaming on Twitch, like a year or year and a half earlier when they were in the hospital, and how they had their own issues and their own demons to deal with. And something about me talking, on the stream or whatever, kind of pulled them into regular life, so to speak. And they were very appreciative of me and everything. And sometimes we don't realize, positive or negative, all the comments that we say to people, you know, either through a live stream or through just a conversation, going to Walmart and meeting with somebody, and all the interactions that we have throughout the day. And that's why I try my best to be positive with everything that I do. And sometimes, I try to make everybody laugh with, and I don't know, keep everything as light as possible, make jokes of everything about myself so that everybody else can kind of laugh about me with me, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I don't want to, I like I like all that, but it's like I don't know. I don't want to spoil your aesthetic of your stream, but I notice you got some moves. You're a variety streamer. You haven't played a single game for 5 years straight in that only game, so I get it. But no, I completely agree with you about that aspect of streaming. Like you're here helping people out, taking away maybe their attention from personal problems, and maybe
Hmm.
the positivity is infectious and that gets passed along. So yes, it's incredibly powerful. I agree with you.
And something else that's slightly different with live streaming as to creating videos, so to speak, is that sometimes we also have to realize that sometimes the live streaming, there's people that are going to come into the chat that just want to somewhat be heard, or just talk and everything. So it's almost like the Cheers bar, the local hangout and gathering and everything. So there's going to be a lot of conversations. A lot of times it is not about the game and it's not about me, and I can't take it personally. I just have to let them chat, unless if it is, like I said at the beginning of the stream, if it's some little 15-year-old, we need to check that out right away. But I don't get a lot of that. I get more mature people usually. And that's totally different than, like doing a video. When I do a video, there's some comments that get dropped below, and they're going to be either positive or they're going to be negative. It's a little different than that aspect of it, if it makes any sense.
Wow, yeah, very polarizing, huh?
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you were a Twitch streamer. I tried Twitch out for a little bit, didn't put a lot of effort into that. Why are you on YouTube now? And then, like, how long ago did you start? Did you start on Twitch and then transition, or?
Yeah, I was on Twitch, and that was just, part time, and it was just, as I was done with my day at work or when I had a day off and this and that, I just kind of did that, and it was kind of a little bit haphazard, and then I kind of got a small schedule going and everything, and it kind of happened a little bit, and that was fine. But then when I got to a certain point, it's like, there seems to be a lot of people over at YouTube and everything. So I kind of thought, well, you know, let's try YouTube. And so I thought, the best thing I felt at that time was to totally break from Twitch and focus on YouTube. And the thing that I realized, either with that and everything, was that in YouTube you get this joy when you make a video, when you make a live stream on YouTube. If you hit the right wording in your title, your description, all those things, YouTube is married with this little known thing called Google. And Twitch will never, ever have that. And YouTube always will.
Again, hit the nail on the head. And where do most of my views come from? Google search.
Right.
And then they'll post my videos because they own YouTube and they own the search. So it'll post the videos, and it'll even it even like annotates it for you now. Have you seen that with any of your videos?
A little bit, yes.
I don't know how it happens, but sometimes I'll randomly search my video to do research or something, and then I see the annotations in there, and I was like, who did that? Did a computer do that? I know it's not a human being.
They've got a lot of computers and a lot of human beings, and I'll do stuff that is like 100% safe, okay, in a live stream. I mean, I curse occasionally, but not very much. And most of the games that I play are fairly safe, and they're not like chopping somebody's head off or anything like that. I mean, yeah, you get some gunplay and stuff like that, but for the most part. And sometimes, YouTube will like automatically say, "Oh no, this is not good content." And I'm like, but then you kind of like tell them to kind of check it out, and then it like gets dismissed right away and says, "Okay, yeah, you're fine." But it's weird how the Google thing works, because I forget what I was doing, but the first time that happened to me, when I was like looking at something on Google, I forget what it was, and all of a sudden one of my videos, because I think I was like searching about a topic for a future video or something, or a future live stream on a game or something, and it actually pulled up one of my things on Google. I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool. When you actually like, pull something up on a Google that actually pulls up, ESG's content from YouTube or something. And I'm like, that's where it's at. That's where it's at. As far as YouTube goes, they used to be a primary video platform, and they're trying to get into the live streaming and a lot of that. And it's been a lot better than it was over the years. But, I think I hit it right at the right time, where they've improved some things on the live streaming. I still have a lot to learn about video editing and things like that. Most of my things are pretty poor and all that, but I try to at least put a stab at it. Just everything that you do in life, you learn some skills from.
Well, I'd be willing to help you out with a little editing if you had a bit here or there. And I could also set you up with some editors if you'd like. But yeah, the common complaint on YouTube is that the live streaming is not that great. But I was talking to Beaver, and YouTube likes consistency, as everyone says. I know you know this. You are consistent within your own style. So you are a variety streamer and you live stream. And I've not been able to do that. I'm all over the place. Of my, let's say, top 20 videos, they're all the same style. So eventually I'll come back to that same style. But I feel like your power is that you are consistently doing this genre. And I do think that it'll pay off. I really do. Yep. I don't think YouTube needs to figure out live streaming. They just need to program their website a little better, like to make it discoverable for live streaming. Because
I feel that I've done a lot of things on YouTube absolutely incorrect and wrong, and I've beat my head against the wall, and it's still kind of working to a degree. But it's like I did eBay 20 years ago, and I came out with a marketing plan on that worked really, really good. And I try something similar with YouTube, where I try to do a thematic based thing, that it's not about the genre of the game, it's about the theme. So like when we had, say, 4th of July a month ago. So I played American Revolution games, whether if they were a storyline game or if it was a first-person shooter or a strategy game. And then I played things that were themed around American independence or things like that, or patriotism. So that's where I played Far Cry 5, because that was, there's some patriotism in there. One of the Call of Duty's games, there's a couple of them with some patriotism, different things like that. But YouTube views that as all over the road, that you have no clue what you're doing, because they're 100% genre based. If I were looking at a first person shooter and then I were looking at a survival crafting first person shooter, and then if I were looking at a zombie survival crafting first person, and it digs down deeper and deeper and deeper, then the more specific you get with YouTube with that specific genre, then YouTube's going to recommend that. And that's where, when some people are like, I have no idea how I came here, but I got recommended, and you got recommended to me on my YouTube feed, and I watched it and I was like, wow. And I'm like, I don't know how you got here either, but I'm happy that you're here. Because like I said, I would prefer to do a thematic based, and YouTube has nothing about that. I would prefer to do like let's say we get into the holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas. I would prefer to do a Christmas themed games for about a month. I would prefer for October and late September to be all about Halloween and everything, and scary games and all that. But then, whether if they be, I don't know, like storyline games or visual novels or, whatever. But YouTube doesn't really like it that way. But I feel like if I did it that way, I should be rewarded, because you're going to get people that do, say, only come to YouTube and watch visual novels, or only come to YouTube and do real-time strategy games, or only come to YouTube and watch first-person shooters, or, and that gives them an opportunity to meet somebody new. And so that should be a bridge that YouTube should learn how to cross a little bit better than it does, if that makes any sense.
Yes, and it is, you're like trying to signal to the algorithm, this is what I do specifically, so that it can then put it on search, and then eventually you'll hit the homepage and go to browse features.
Yeah.
But your power is, if you can get through it, you are collecting subscribers from all these different genres as YouTube sees it.
Right.
And eventually there should be some sort of network effect that clicks in. But I agree with you.
But it doesn't work that way. They're just like, yeah, it's like, I'm lucky to see people.
Yeah,
That's all right.
You either they gave you a contract because you're a big Twitch streamer, or you are a gentleman that likes to play Tarkov and only does Tarkov guides, or you're the top player in Tarkov and you stream, and that is your niche or whatever. But I just like the idea of what you're doing.
Well, thank you.
And I hope it pays off for you.
I'll never have mad gamer skills, and I know that. And at my age, I'm going to get continually diminishing results on my mad gamer skills that I do have. So I have to realize that, and who knows. But no, I'm enjoying things that I'm doing, and I hope that other people enjoy it also.
Well, back to the Hearts of Iron 4. I think it would be really funny if you could get on a live stream with another streamer and just playing, not like a competitive multiplayer, but like we're going to do whatever together. And it would be fun if you like made some mistakes or something like that with some cool editing or something like that. I think it would be absolutely hilarious, because there is no one like you in the community. You know what I'm saying? That's why I want to do more content with you, because you're very unique and an excellent streamer.
Well, thank you so much.
let's talk about maybe what other hobbies do you have, or are you not able to have other hobbies because you're doing this thing? You've started this journey.
Mm-hmm. Well, I had this job thing, and I got to, they let me get up and go to work every day there for quite some time, quite a few years. Um, but I did that. I've always had a primary job where I worked 50, 60, 70 hours a week. And then I also had a secondary business where I worked, 10, 20 hours a week or something like that.
Wow.
And then, so I've always had a lot of things that I do. I always try to stay very, very organized. And here recently, over the last couple of years, now I've added, some hours of streaming and gaming onto that schedule and everything. And something really shifted there with the work there a few months ago, to where it became not pleasant, and I was at a position where I'm like, I really don't need or want to do this anymore, and so I did that. But what I do I've also shifted my secondary business. I mentioned that I did some uh, working on Xboxes and PlayStations and things like that. So I've always had a secondary business, and a lot of times that secondary business was kind of a hobby also. Um, so I did antiquing, which also was home decor and different things like that. That's what I did with eBay about 20 years ago. I sold a lot of things on eBay and everything that were in that vintage and antique realm and all that kind of stuff. I also had a couple of shops doing that. And then more recently, I kind of shelved that about 2008, just because I felt that the economy wasn't, a lot of people in 2008 were not looking to decorate their homes, so to speak. They were
Yeah.
worried about which home they were, their home that they weren't going to be living in, and which apartment they were going to be moving to, rather than trying to decorate their home. And then we're in not quite the same situation, but it's a little bit tight for some people right now. And so here recently, I also shifted over the last 5 years or so into dealing with properties and real estate and everything. And so that was my secondary business. It's also my hobby and everything. Was I started off just trying to fix my home, and then I started getting a second home and fixing that and things. So rehabbing, tearing out walls, putting up drywall, redoing the plumbing and the electrical and all that kind of stuff in homes and everything. Everybody else there's some people that are like, oh, that's a job. Well, to me, that was fun, because compared to the job that I did, um, that was a lot of fun and everything. And so now I also have what we're doing here. Certainly, I can't count this as a job with the income and everything from YouTube or anything, but it's kind of falls into that hobby category. Um, so I also love gardening. I mean, I've got a huge garden. Um, got about 100 stalks of sweet corn right now that are starting to bloom. I'm pretty happy to see those. I got about 20 tomato plants. So, I mean, there's a lot of things out in the garden and everything right now, and that's one thing that I do. I wake up, I take the dog out, and go play in the garden for an hour or so, and you know it doesn't matter what you do. You just need to enjoy what you do, honestly. And I know a lot of people say that, but I mean, just find something that you enjoy doing. Like I said, and I thought about when I decided to leave my work, I enjoyed working outside and in the garden and in the yard so much that I thought, I could just do this as a job too. Go work on other people's yards. But then I was like, eh, there gets to be a certain point where you have to like also realize what's your time worth and what's your
Yeah.
value with that. And at my age, I know some people on the Hearts of Iron Developers podcast, somebody tossed out there that I was 30 years old. That is not true. I am a little bit older than that. And, you just got to kind of figure that out. And the earlier you figure it out, the better your life is. That, with a job, you're trading dollars for money or dollars for time, I guess. And how much time are you going to spend working for somebody else for a certain amount of dollars? And what can you do to make your life more enjoyable with the time that you have on this big round ball? I didn't mean to get all soap opera on you, but
no, this is what the podcast is for. This is like the real, human stuff. And I'm completely with you. And I always find commonality with whoever I'm interviewing. And in this aspect, you're talking about yard work and all that stuff. I do enjoy getting outside doing that stuff, but I see it as a hobby, like YouTube's a hobby, but also acquiring skills, the acquisition of skills. But if you're doing your yard work and you're getting the sweet corn, you don't have to go buy sweet corn. Yep. That offsets a cost. And from a perspective of where I grew up in a huge city, no one did anything for themselves. I'm polar opposite now. I'm learning to do basic plumbing, very basic. Yard work is pretty straightforward, but then carpentry and things like that. I like picking up stuff like that as well. And it's kind of a game for me to get my costs down as well. So I get into all sorts of things just like you, and it seems to fit the YouTuber mindset and lifestyle because you have to adapt to the various changes of what's going on with the algorithm, what's going on in the gaming community, like the different types of content. You have to be good at thumbnail creation, title creation, content creation. Hopefully you get into editing. The editing is fairly dry work. I threw out my back. I edited my Macedonia video for 16 hours, then went on a road trip. Completely threw out my back. Couldn't stand up.
Wow.
So now I've learned to I stretch every day, and that was another thing that I delved into as well. So yeah, it just seems kind of natural for a YouTuber to be into all these things for sure.
Yep.
Well, I think that we've been at it for an hour, and you gave me an hour slot. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate you sharing with me your experience on Hearts of Iron 4, YouTube, gaming, everything. That's why I do this podcast, so that I can talk to other creators, other like-minded individuals who are doing similar activities for myself that I can find common ground with. And that's why I do YouTube, to share my experiences with other people and find commonality and define that positivity that you were talking about. So thank you very much.
I appreciate you so much for inviting me to the podcast, for one, and I appreciate so much the Hearts of Iron community for opening their arms and saying, hey, here's somebody to kind of take a look at and everything, because I had no idea just how intense that community was. This community was, I guess. Yes. Thank you so much.
Yeah, if there's anything coming down the pipeline, I will DM you and make you aware of any opportunities inside the community.
Yep.
So that's all. That's it, guys. Please consider checking out Da Vinci's channel and leaving a like and subscribing. He's bound to play a game that you'll like. I almost guarantee you. So go check him out, and I'll see you guys on the next one.